Let's discuss the last professional skill of AFM, that is professional acumen. It's a very important professional skill. You should have the awareness of both external and internal environment affecting the company, including constraints and strengths. Whenever you are dealing with some specific scenario, you should know the opportunities, the strengths, and the constraints of the risk which is that company is facing. You should demonstrate a combination of business awareness, effective judgment, and insight. For example, you are presenting a case of takeover of other business to the board of directors. To show the professional acumen, you should assess the impact of range of issues on that outcome. For example, you have calculated that the value of that particular business is, for example, 500 million, and you are recommending that we should acquire that business, but you should assess the impact of other factors. For example, how will you finance that acquisition? If you are using the debt, then there should be a question mark and how company will pay back the loan in future. And if the company is going to pay other loan, for example, in some after some time, how the company can pay two loans in future. And is the economy right to raise the more debt, or in future is the economy will be suitable to raise the more debt? If no, then you should raise the equity and acquire the company. But then there is a question whether we can raise the equity, whether we have done the recent right issues. So it will be difficult for us to raise another right issue. If we haven't paid dividend in the past few years, it will be difficult for us to raise funds from the equity. So although you are recommending that you should acquire the company, but it is difficult to raise funds from the market through debt or equity. So that is called the professional acumen. That's how you know that although calculations were right, we should acquire the company, but the suitable finance are not available in the market. So it all depends upon the specific scenario. For example, if you are acquiring other company and there were 5 directors of that company who were very technical and they were managing the business, but when you acquire the other business, 4 of them will leave the company. So you should write as a professional acumen that if majority of the directors will leave the company, how you will manage the company, because it will be difficult for you because you are the new owner. You don't have the background knowledge of that company, or you do not have the particular skill of managing that business, and there is only one director left. So it will be difficult. It may create problem in the future if you manage the business without the relevant persons. So remember this: candidate need to look at external constraints and opportunities where relevant and consider the reasonableness of any assumption that the organization may be working under, given the external environment. You should look at the external environment as well as the internal environment and develop a sense of professional acumen that whether this is possible or not. It will not be tested separately. You must apply the commercial acumen in question using the following points: to identify the company background, company operations, or economic or company environment which have a significant impact on the company. You should carefully read first 2 to 3 paragraphs of the question. Remember, in first two to three paragraphs of the question, normally story of the background of the company or the economy is given. Those lines are very important. For example, in that question it is given that there are 5 directors, which I previously discussed, and when you acquire that company, 4 will left. You should write the impact of that in the question. For example, you are recommending that you should acquire the business, but it is written in the question that economy is not performing well in the future. So you should develop a commercial sense of acquiring that business. So focus on relevant areas only, as this will demonstrate effective judgment and insight. Give feasible recommendation considering all factors having long-term commercial impact, not the recommendation based on financial calculation. So examiner is requiring here, you shouldn't give your answer just on the calculation. For example, if the NPV is marginally positive, if NPV is marginally negative, you shouldn't jump to the recommendation that we should accept the project or we should reject the project. You should write the other factors. For example, you should write that company should apply sensitivity analysis, company should apply the scenario analysis, so that you know the clear picture. You should apply the other methods. You should write that if you enter into the project after a few years, you have the option to, you have the right, you have the option, you have the choice to expand the project. You can enter into a second leg of that project. You can expand the project. You can offer a new product after some time. And currently, it looks like the project is not feasible, but if we consider the future, if we consider the long-term impact, if we consider that we have the option to launch the new product in the future, if we have the option to expand this project in the future, there is a commercial sense. So guys, professional acumen is not about the calculation. It is applying the other factors which have the long-term commercial impact on the project. If the project is not looking very attractive now, but in future it has a very bright consequence, you can write in your report. That is called the professional acumen. Thank you so much.